We have 2 minutes according to my watch until it's time to start.
You can wait.
We've already started.
Pardon?
You can wait.
That's
It's
my-
just a hot
that's my
mic,
plan.
don't say anything you wouldn't want on YouTube.
I'd like to advise the chair that my car is in the shop.
Do you need to ride home?
So no, if my phone rings, I will answer it.
Oh, that's
No
fine.
offense, I understand priorities. This is a priority.
That's fine.
You prioritized.
We appreciate being notified.
My car is in the shop, I will answer the phone. Nothing personal.
Which shop is it in?
Gideon's still running a little.
Do you have the captions up there
next
for
door
him?
to,
Yeah.
My brother's place. Yeah, okay.
but he's not working full-time anymore.
He's not? Oh. Is the shop open full-time, just not him?
No? he's open part-time. See, that's like 100 yards from our house.
Oh,
That is so good.
yes, I was
Compared
gonna
to
say.
driving to Duluth, you know.
We were both absent last time.
I had an excused absence. You messed up.
I had an excused absence
You
too.
messed up the time.
Huh?
Just let him talk.
Did I do that?
Yes, you did.
Whatever it was.
But I paid for my sins because I had COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I wasn't very sick.
Do we expect Craig?
No, sir.
No.
Okay. Well, we are 30 seconds from time to start.
From
Hi, Paul.
Hi there, how are you doing, Steve?
I'm older, which is better than the alternative.
Is it your birthday?
You've made 2 references to age already, and it's only 4:45.
What was my first reference to age?
I forget.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Agenda. I forgot to bring a copy of the agenda. Do you have one there? Here we go, he just gave it to me. Okay. First of all, the agenda is very brief. You all have had a chance to see it ahead of time. Does anybody wish to make any changes? If there's no objection, the agenda will be approved as distributed. November minutes. I wasn't here, so I have no input in that. Are you all happy with the minutes?
I read them and yes.
Everybody, okay? And is there any request for change? There being no request for change, they're unanimously approved as distributed. That puts us for the golf report, and you're on, Paul.
Okay, well, let's see, we had record play in November. I'm just kidding. It's been kind of a weird fall here, so, I sent out all this information, basically, this executive summary. We had a pretty good year. I think, things keep, seems like they're stable, getting a little bit better each year. Right now, I'm in the process of trying to figure out, we've got basically a little more ground to make to be at the break-even point. Just trying to figure, looking at the numbers and stuff, it seems kind of stable about where we're at. I don't know, exactly what to do to try to tighten up that deficit, but what I think what we're talking about doing and what might help is if we're doing something different with our liquor license and the kitchen area. So I've been kind of, like I was saying, we've been looking for components for that. I just acquired a four bay sink, commercial sink. I just purchased that yesterday. That was on, like I was saying, my wife's been shopping this marketplace, and so we found one right in Duluth here, $100. That was a great deal. And then this evening, I'm gonna go look at a couple of commercial pizza makers that somebody's selling. And so that's, that's another $100. So those are definitely things we're using that I'm kind of modeling off of a pure mine that that I was doing some contract work for this fall, they had, they're similar to us in that they're 9-hole cores. And the manager there basically did the same thing. They had to go to get a stage 2 kitchen. So she went over that with the health department personnel out there and what they had to do. So I looked at what they did, and basically, you know, they had to put in this commercial sink. It had to be 3 bays. She said that she wanted to get a hard liquor license, and they told her then she'd need a 4-bay sink. So anyway, when I saw this 4-bay one, we just went ahead and grabbed it just in case that's something we want to do. I don't really understand all the reasonings, but so we're looking at taking that our storage room back behind the kitchen and converting that into this commercial kitchen scenario. And basically all we need to do is, you know, we have to put in this sink. There's some materials that you have to put up on the walls that are, I'm guessing they're fireproof or whatever. You have to have a drain in the floor, which we do in that room. What else? You have to have a commercial refrigerator, which in the situation that I looked at this other golf course, they had basically kind of a two-door refrigerator kind of laid down low like a tabletop, and then they were able to put their pizza makers and stuff on that. And she said that they had the pizza supplier supplied you with one of those, but they had additional pizza makers so that they could, you know, they could make lots of pizzas at the same time, that sort of thing. And anyway, yeah, so that would put us in a thing where we'd be able to get a strong liquor license and basically just have a lot better situation. I think, you know, a lot better profit center in that. We've never really done much with food at all. You know, we've had hot dogs and some treats, you know, and that's about it. So, and we've had lots of complaints about our beer supply, and I understand that because there isn't any with the 3-2 offerings. It gets worse and worse each year. So hopefully we're going to be able to remedy that. That's kind of been what I've been focusing on lately.
So Paul,
Yeah.
so if you have a strong liquor license, is that change who you can employ to run the clubhouse? They have to be over a certain age?
Well, I guess it probably, it might, yeah, you might have to be 21 to be, you know, to be an attendant
Right.
back there. I don't know. I would guess so. If there's gonna be, if we have alcohol back behind the counter there, then, you know, then you probably have to be at least legal drinking age. I'm just assuming that. But, you know, that doesn't really affect us anyway, I think. We don't
All
have a lot of youth.
the people we have working inside at the moment are well past 21, are they not?
Yeah, probably 21 times 3.
Yeah, that's what I was
Okay.
thinking.
Yeah, so we don't really have that problem.
Okay, all right, I was just curious, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really about it. I just recently filed a bunch of paperwork in through the fax to Dave, or to the email Dave, and I had put an invoice basically for that sprayer that we were talking about, my personal sprayer that I'm putting up for sale to the course. And so I put that in with a invoice for review, and then I've got sent along some comparables that are on the market. Like I say, it's been really, I've been looking for sprayers for, you know, several years now, and it's just been, it's really tough. And I think you'll kind of see that in the comps. The numbers just jump from what they had before the dollar had changed here over the last couple of years, and that certainly affected our turf equipment. Other than that, I need to kind of get back on, getting new carts acquisitions back into the program. There's some other things I think I highlighted in the, report here, our irrigation system. That's an expense I'm gonna probably have to go after, this slow start system, or there's some other acronyms for those systems, but basically it's a system that whenever the irrigation system calls for usage, turns on and the system's loaded, but it seems to be, there just seems to be enough air or whatever it's a large system, obviously, going through the whole course, and when you engage it, it seems to have enough pressure where it's just hammering a slight bit. And I'm stating that because we just keep continually getting leaks, and they always seem to be in the old glue joints. And normally those shouldn't come apart. It's an older system, but I don't know, I don't think it's just because they're all coming apart at the same time because of the age of the system. I think it's because of the way the system's hammering. And so there's the system, basically it just starts, when the system engages, it calls for irrigation, it just starts out at a slower rate of pressure and then builds until it reaches the assigned pressure. Right now we just have, our pressure is at the regular pressure it's at, and it just turns on. And if there is any air in the system, air doesn't compress like water or vice versa. It's just something's causing this stuff, and it's just a bunch of stuff we've had to deal with. It's not abnormal. I mean, all golf courses have to deal with this, but
You're satisfied that by bringing in this slow fire approach will likely reduce the number of troubles we have?
right, yeah, that's correct. Right now, yeah, we've got a system now that we can, program and leave on. The best time to irrigate is, in overnight, as close to the morning hours as you can. Obviously, we can't be operating it in the morning when there's going to be play there and that sort of thing, and it's not efficient. You have evaporation and stuff when you try to do it in the day and all that sort of thing. I think in the past they had more of a manual system, so they would just turn it on and then run the whole thing manually. And I could see where you only have one incidence of hammering basically when you first initially do it, and then if you keep it running, from system to system, I guess, in my mind, maybe there'd be less hammering. I don't know, but the reality is we have it preset. Now we've got a digital system that we're able to preset, and so those things are going to come on at a prescribed time, and that's the way it should be. But if because you have one system, everything's off, and then one system turns on, and then finishes, and then turns off, and then the other one turns on and off. We can't be running all these different zones at the same time, so we run right next to each other, but we try not to have them overlap because we don't want to be running the motors harder than they should be run.
Any idea what the cost of the modification will be?
I guess I don't know. I'm guessing probably it's going to be $5,000 to $8,000 is what I'm thinking. But I'll have to, I know a few people. I mean, I talked to somebody about this last year briefly, and they were going to come out and take a look at our system. We've got 2 motors. I don't know if that's going to affect us. I know a guy that he may be retired, but I think he still might be doing irrigation systems. And I'm going to talk to him to see if that's something that he's still doing. He was kind of an expert in these systems. But yeah, I'm going to start gathering information for that and see what the reality of that's going to be.
Your picture disappeared, Paul.
Okay.
Maybe you want to turn your camera back on or something. There you go.
Yeah, I had a call come through at the same
Oh,
time, so
okay.
must have kicked me off. So, yeah, that's something I'm researching too. I've got some old numbers with this guy's number on it, and I'll try to chase him down. But there's other people that do it too, and, there's, a lot of golf courses have these systems. But I'm not an irrigation expert, so, I'm learning all sorts of stuff as the seasons go by here. And, yeah, I know a good irrigation system, a dependable irrigation system is really critical, of course, and, pretty basic to our needs. So anyway, that's information I'm gonna be chasing down here, and, we'll see. Right now, I've also gotta be shopping for a replacement motor. But I'm gonna wait until I do talk to these guys about that. I don't know if they're gonna recommend just running one motor, a larger motor. I wanna see what these programs, what the options are with that pump house, so.
Okay,
Yeah, other than that, that's kind of it. I guess that, that the other things that kind of were standout last year, I mean, we noticeably had more visitors, and more people from Canada. And, I think if we're going to get into advertising or anything like that, I think we should be definitely targeting those areas. The other thing too is we had Paulina Bergstrom that started working with us last year in the clubhouse. She really helped out a lot with getting women that engaged with a women's day, a women's league. And so that's kind of been in the infant stage, but I've been wanting that here since I've been here. The first year we were here, we had some participants, but they didn't last very long. The bugs were particularly bad that year, and it just wasn't very well organized. So, but Paulina, I guess basically if you have a leader in the leagues, it really helps. And so she was really helpful with that. And so, we had a dozen plus women that were coming out to play, and so that was great. And they seemed to have a good time. They stayed afterwards and got around the table, and so that was good to see. The other thing too is we had with the juniors, their youth group from down in town, they had got some sort of funding that where the kids got some sort of a grant where they all kind of came in and got memberships for juniors. Not that those aren't very expensive memberships, but we really like seeing the participation. So they were coming out regularly on Mondays, and they'd have mixed numbers from the total group. But there were a number of those players that would come out on their own and play. So it's good to see that develop. We have kind of an 18 membership, so we want to keep our membership strong and growing, and so we certainly like seeing the future come up.
do you want to highlight any other parts of the report, Paul, or shall we just ask you questions?
Yeah, you can ask questions, I guess. I don't know if you've had a chance to go through it or.
Well, we all did. It came to us, yesterday? Yeah.
Yeah. Basically it's, I guess it's the summary is, I think we had a good year, and.
While they're winding up, remembering what it is they wanted to ask, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
You mentioned promoting to our city golfers the fact that we got the 15% discount, and how might we do that? Can we send it out with the water bills, or?
I don't know.
You're shaking your head no, David.
No, we looked into that this spring, and it's not as easy as it sounds. It's a third-party billing agency, and there's many people that get those bills that aren't city residents, particularly business owners.
So by next March or so, we'll need a plan for what we're gonna do for the city residents and for how we're going to market to them and what
I
we might.
guess, yeah, maybe I should have a conversation with the post office there and see if they have any ideas on. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know if there's any code or anything that has a difference from anybody in the county versus city people, but, I guess it's probably in the taxes really is what defines it, people that are paying the city taxes are the target, I don't think we'd probably ask the IRS if we could put in an advertisement with their stuff, but yeah, something to think about.
Well, we got the local paper, we got,
You mentioned the driving
Oriole.
range, and you're thinking of developing some part of the range to provide a wider range of practice types. Is that what I'm hearing, like a sand trap or something?
Yeah, I think that wouldn't be too difficult. We could add a couple features out there, but I'd like to find, there's people from down in Duluth and stuff that is kind of specialized in doing these little seminars, sort of little teaching gigs, and where they can work with a wide range of skills, from beginner to skilled players, and they can show from just from basic grips to to a simple swing to and then to other people that are just want to improve their game, how to work the ball right to left or left to right. There's always things you could set up to improve putting, those sort of things. But it'd be nice to come up with some sort of a format for that we could post, and see if we get participation for that. I think if we had someone from outside town come in, usually it's just perceived as more of an expert, and we can promote that, and the idea is to get people excited about playing, practicing more, that sort of thing. Just that's kind of the game. It's just a game, and you just try to improve on it, and you have fun. It's just kind of the challenge, So yeah, I kind of want to keep that challenge out in front of everybody. So, we have a good practice range. The idea is to get people to use it, and if we can have some sort of instructor come out there and give people a little more directed purpose on what they're practicing, maybe, get better results. You get better results, I don't know.
I'm delighted you're thinking about this. The two things that our course doesn't have now, that will make a significant difference is a clubhouse where people want to stick around and eat and drink, and people to teach. And so if you can find some, that would be really helpful. We don't have too many resident pros.
Right, yeah, and I think that, another thing that I think of too, that, just from traveling around, you look at environments for hanging out, having a beer or whatever, summer and all that sort of thing. Be nice to design some sort of like a temporary roof or some sort of a overhang, some sort of a shelter roof, 2-season, 3-season, whatever you call it. It would go out over our porch out there, our porch out back, and it, would allow people to, hang out there, whether it's raining or not, or,
We might get people from the North House Folk School to build it for us if we provided the material, huh?
Well, yeah, things like that would be a great idea. I think that, just my thoughts on it, just off the cuff, would be to try to build a substantial structure there over that deck. But then, as we were using it, I think we definitely have to be making plans at rejuvenating that deck as time goes by. The deck's been there a long time, and basically just kind of maybe update that and fix that up. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's the thing about golf courses, you know, you've got a lot of outside area to do different things like that. You know, we really don't have any beer cart or anything like that going on right now, and I guess, you know, we could even look at doing something like that if we improve our liquor license. And I don't know, you know, something to look at, but, you know, I'm just trying to think of ways to, you know, realistic ways to edge up that amount that, you know, we want, you know, we're kind of going through the numbers there, and we want to get up to that 200,000 figure, and we're kind of approaching it, but, you know, I think we need to find some other things. It appears that, you know, we could raise revenues, that gets a little sensitive as far as raising, you know, fees, greens fees, and that's, you can't just do it all at once. But I think that, you know, and I looked at the numbers on our beer and our food and stuff, we aren't doing much with, you know, we don't have big numbers there. And it's certainly, we could improve on it just from having products that people would, you know, want to buy or would enjoy more.
It might be an inexpensive.
You know, I don't know if
I'm
this food thing's going to take off or not, but I don't think we're looking at spending a whole lot of money on it. And like I say, from my just my talking to my other peer that had done this, they said that they recouped their expense. Now they spent $15,000 putting this room together, and they said that they recouped that already last year. You know, between the pizzas and the
Drinks.
alcohol. The other thing that they said too is that because they weren't going to be, they had a couple of problems with the way that they put the room together. Their outside counter area, where we have tile on our floor down there, they had carpet, so that disallowed them from doing liquor for some reason. And the other thing was that they had a 3-bay sink where they needed a 4-bay, so that was, you know, these little obstacles. Anyway, I guess what they did was they make, you know, different things like even Crown Royal and different drinks in a can now. So they can, you know, they can serve those, they can just crack those open and serve those over ice or whatever. Or, you know, just give a can away or whatever, but they can serve those sort of things. I guess those sort of things are available. But, you know, I'm probably gonna,
With regard to the driving range, do you have
Yeah.
a time frame in mind for figuring out what you'd like to do first?
well, yeah, basically, I'm gonna be trying to locate someone to see if I can't interest someone in coming up and kind of, you know, being part of this idea where they're coming up on maybe a weekly or bi-weekly, you know, maybe 6 to 8 visits during the summer, you know. And then if we can get that locked in, then it's something we can promote. So that would be kind of the key thing. As far
Presumably,
as,
presumably people would pay for the lesson,
well, you know,
or we might offer one free to start.
yeah, we could, there's all sorts of ways to do that. I mean, the main thing is to get people participating, and then, you know, if they feel like they learned something or something, they get an idea that's gonna help them, they can quickly start working on it and continue to work on it, and then, you know, and then improve their game, and then they wanna come out and try it on the course, and, you know, it's just kind of a progression, but the idea is to get, you know, it's a big part of golf is to try to hone your game in. I guess there's all sorts of different kind of golfers, but, you know, I think that particularly for some of our league members, we've got some really good golfers, and we've got some guys that, I don't know, they come out, they aren't very good, you know, but they come out and, you know, particularly for those people, you know, if we could give them some of this help and information, I think it might be real helpful. And I think, I have a feeling that, you know, the new women golfers that are, you know, trying to form a league, I think that'd be helpful for them. You know, just,
Some lessons?
you know, just to get their game going. Some of the youth players, yeah, I think anybody that would get involved with that would be helpful for them. But I know for me personally, that's the way it is, if you get a good informative lesson, you start practicing it, and then all of a sudden you start getting results. It's not like, generally, it's not like somebody's gonna come by and they can always, if they see something wrong, they can make corrections, but generally it's just the encouragement that gets, people more involved in the golfing that's gonna make the difference,
Okay,
like.
I have one last question, but I want to invite anybody else to, if they have
No,
one.
Nope, I'm
kind of
good.
ready to move on.
Paul, you're just an amazing golf evangelist. It's really impressive to hear somebody evangelizing a sport like that. I mean, and it's wonderful.
He takes advantage of the fact that everybody who plays golf is inherently an optimist.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a game about being honest and, with your score and stuff. There's all sorts of neat things about the game of golf, But, anyway, yeah, I don't need to hold you up with all those
other-
philosophy things, so.
Two other questions. The MGA, they came up to look at our course and reestablish the slope and rating and stuff?
Yes.
And have they given us the answers?
Yep, I've got that information on my desk.
Has it changed materially in terms of slope or rating?
No, it's pretty similar to what it was.
Okay.
We've got our slope rating is basically tells you that how difficult the course is going to play, versus our course versus like a flat pancake course out in North Dakota. They might be 9 holes, but there's going to be, we've got some challenges for where you can get in trouble, and some courses don't have that and play easier, and so they have a different slope than we do.
And the golf handicap system that the MGA permits us to be part of will be operational next spring then?
We'll just print out a thing. Basically, the way things are right now, Steve, is, anyone with a cell phone can just get on there and basically get signed in and get it going.
Terrific. Okay?
Yeah,
I'll look forward to signing up next April.
yeah, and, so basically that's set up for if you want to go keep your scores so that you have a handicap. Anywhere you want to play, you can go play, pretty much anywhere in the nation that keeps
And not lose too much
handicaps
money.
under the USGA, so.
Last question, and that is the North Shore Golf Trail, one of my late night ideas after having a glass of scotch. Have you had a chance to think about it, talk about it? And I would ask you and Dave together, who should we get involved in it and who should take the lead, if it's worth doing?
Well, the North Shore Golf Alliance I know that they had a program like that in the past where they had kind of a cooperative advertisement thing. I guess I'd have to look to see what it costs to participate in that, but to me, we don't really, we get lost in that basically on any ads that we're going to be involved with Giants Ridge and Lutsen. We just lose as far as from an advertising standpoint, Those are the destination golf courses, and that's why the point I was trying to make about our advertisement should really be about tied into just the fact that you're being in Grand Marais and that we've got this course here if you're in Grand Marais, and it should be more about Grand Marais. I think anything we can tie it in together with Grand Marais, I think that would be stronger for us. I don't think I don't want to just avoid being in these group advertising things, but I don't think it's I don't if we're not in it, it wouldn't bother me,
Okay, what you're talking about is the Arrowhead thing? Yes, that's just a list of courses basically, right?
Yeah, and
Websites.
there's people that put lists together of courses like that for, you know, and it just depends on what the purpose is. If it's just, you know, people are trying to have a source of information for golfers, that's great. If it's like they're trying to, you know, it's an advertising campaign and you know, Lutzen would be paying a lot, and Giants Ridge would be paying a lot, and then we kind of piggyback onto that. Well, you know, I suppose we can look at that, but I just don't think that those are going to do us much good, because we just really, we don't really compare to those kind of courses, you know, as far as, those are, you know, big destination courses. But I just think if we had more stuff going on about people coming into the area, directly into the area, you know, if they're talking Lutzen, anybody that's talking Lutzen, they're talking either skiing or golfing at the golf course. Now, if they're coming up to Grand Marais, it'd be nice, there's all sorts of different things to talk about in Grand Marais, but it'd be nice if we could try to incorporate the golf course as being one of those things. You know, those signs those little brown signs that just have directions to the golf course, those help. And, you know,
When you get a chance, Paul, take a look at the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail in Alabama. The state pension fund there said they needed a better investment and they needed to get more people there. So they built 8 courses, and there are more since that the state basically paid for. And they have cooperative deals with the resorts and the hotels and the restaurants and all those things. And they provide for those courses a rather complete packaging arrangement. And I was thinking that, I know that Lutzen is thinking of doing something with us cooperatively.
Yeah, I think that would be worthwhile if you actually had a plan where, you know, people were going to plan like a destination golf thing, and they were going to hit these different golf courses.
Right.
And that was part of the program. That would be certainly worthwhile, yeah.
Give some thought to that. Take a look at the Robert Trent Jones website in Alabama. I think you'll be inspired.
Oh yeah, I played it. Yeah, and it's a good deal. You know, it's a destination, snowbird destination. You know, people go down there and so yeah. I mean, I don't know if the thing about a program like that is that, you know, people are going to be spending their money and time and money on golfing up here, then, you know, yeah, I mean, if we could be in a program where they're going to play 5 courses and we're going to be one of them, that'd be great, you know. It's going to be, you know, a thing where we're advertising and here's the courses up here, and, well, yeah, we're going to Lutzen, you know, or we're going to Giants Ridge. Because, you know, those are destination courses, and so that's kind of what's, you know, really we have a lot of people that have come in. If we just have the opportunity to have golfers from those courses even come in and play our course, that's where we get really good comments, because they're kind of surprised because our course has been in good condition. You know, they like the greens, whatever. But it's been they've had a good experience here, even though they played Lutzen, and it's a different, you know, Lutzen's a great destination course. But so that's what's been enjoyable for us, and, you know, keeps our maintenance guys going, is that we keep the conditions really good there, and it's fun to see people pleasantly surprised. You know, it's kind of gives us a bump, you know.
Is there any action that we need to take relating to the golf course today, Dave or Paul? No?
No.
Is there anything else that you want to add before we change subjects?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Great season, great work.
Thank you.
Hey guys, have a good holiday.
You too.
Yeah.
We did. City council report. Dave, are you aware of anything that's worthy of sharing there?
I do not have any report for
Okay.
city council.
Did you appear
Oh, I did.
on the 29th?
I guess that is a bit of a report. I was at the meeting last week.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Was it just last week?
Yeah,
it went
probably.
really well. Really well. I was going to maybe talk about that in our master plan
Okay.
discussion, but yeah, it was, you know, briefly, it was like updating the council, bringing them up to speed on our master plan, sharing the maps, sharing the document. The presentation we looked at on the 13th of November, I recycled, and there was only 3 of the 5 members present. Craig and Aaron weren't there, but Mayor Benson and Ben and Michael were there, and they were all very pleased.
When did they approve it?
Perhaps as early as this month, after tonight's meeting, with a motion for recommendation of approval. Yeah, I feel it would streamline, so what I did was like bring them up to speed. I didn't ask for an approval because I knew we wanted to do that ourselves. We needed to recommend an approval. That we did not do last month. But if things go well tonight,
The Active Living Steering Committee would like a copy of the approved draft that's moving to the council,
for sure.
because it has a lot of pedestrian activity in it. It looks really good. So as soon as we have that, we'd like to move that over to that committee and let them chew on it.
For sure. We have that. We'll soon have that.
Okay, Parks report. We had a written 3/4 page one. What would you like to highlight, Dave?
Just a few things here. So we got Firefly finally live and online. It's, if you've had a chance to look at it, it's pretty slick. It's very user-friendly. Graphics are great, intuitive. Put in your dates, put in the size of your camper, search for availability on a real-time map. So we're happy. It went live a couple weeks ago, right before the Memorial Day weekend demand. I've actually noticed not a lot of demand in what would have normally been maybe 50 or so Memorial Day reservations, really were more like 20. So we're not sure what's off there. You know, we've done some Facebook messaging at the beginning of November, talking about we're still getting things ready, and then once things were ready, we announced it, and not a lot of action yet. So it's still early in the booking season. The only other nuance to that is this idea of a 6-month rolling date, and with like 30 days in November and 29 days in February. It's not as easy as we initially had hoped, where like December 5th would equal June 5th. It actually is booking June 4th today, because there were only 30 days in November, right? So it's like on this 182 day because of leap year. And it's created this like little bit of flex and flow to what's 6 months ahead from today. And it doesn't really matter for the average person booking. It won't matter once it's, March and April and all the dates are open. But for some of those really critical opening days, like August 1st for Fisherman's Picnic, we don't think it'll be February 1st. We think it'll be maybe January 31st or January 30th. So we're telling folks to look a few days before. If the date really matters, go into there, put in some, hypothetical dates, see if it's available yet. And again, it's not going to be an issue for the majority of bookers, but for the few that really need to get that spot for the 4th of July or Fisherman's Picnic, and they want to get right on it as soon as it opens, it's best to check it a few days prior to the anticipated of your arrival. And then the other thing you'll see is that you can book up to 14 nights after your arrival, so that there is a window of dates in the calendar that appear to be available, but they're not, unless you're arriving on that opening day. And then when you look at mapping, several sites are already booked for a period of dates after the opening. So again, I think it's very common in all the other parks that we've researched, where the state parks are doing it 4 months in advance, and the national parks are 6 months. And I would hope campers are just accustomed to this kind of software and this kind of flex in the booking dates. So, but we're pleased. It's a very intuitive system. Like I say, it's user friendly. It's got a lot of back of house features for accounting and report making and all this that'll be helpful. We've got quite an operation going though, between like seasonal sites and overnight sites and marina docks, and so we're doing quite a bit of customization with that. But it's a good time of year for that, so things are going well there. I'll just skip to the last paragraph here, because the middle one, we've got a little bit of business I'd like to discuss with the George Morrison interpretive panel. So the final piece of my report here is just an update on a new initiative that Mayor Benson has been engaged with, this Resilient Coastal Projects Initiative, the RCPI. And so we've already had a couple of good online meetings with their regional coordinator, Pierce, and she is basically planning the plan. They have I guess a funding mechanism through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to create coastal resiliency projects along the Great Lakes. And so Grand Marais, Mayor Benson wants to participate in this. We've already identified 2 possible shoreline projects, that being the entire East Bay, which is, subject to wave action and sediment or erosion and flooding. There's multiple private businesses on the bay here that have been impacted over the years, the East Bay and the Drury Lane and the Historic Society. We've pretty much been aware of this forever, that there's big waves rolling into East Bay, and can we do something about it? The other location is in here on the inner harbor, what we call like Boulder Park, Coast Guard parking lot. We know the parking lot's no longer a boat launch facility. The Boulder Park itself is always subject to a lot of erosion behind that seawall, which is old and gapping and full of holes, and frequently we're tasked with going out there and adding new material, new riprap and crushed stone to, fortify the backside of that wall so folks can stroll along it. Not a lot of stormwater management down in that parking lot. You see a lot of standing water in like the gravel lot at Boulder Park, for example. And so between those 2 locations, now we're going to sort of have a final meeting to decide which is most suitable for this initiative. I believe that's this Thursday. Soil and Water is involved. I think a really good chance to make some improvements if we're selected in the Boulder Park Coast Guard parking lot area.
Did you say there's no more boat launching being done by the Coast Guard building?
Officially, that has transferred over to the new public, what's the
It's owned by
Parkside
us
Public
now.
Water. Yeah, it's always been owned by us. So
Okay,
this whole
but-
city parking lot that in the, like 85 or so, the DNR did the partnership agreement and created the ramp and the dock and the striped for truck trailer parking lot. That's all transferred over to the new Parkside access in the park.
So, but are you saying that they do or they don't use the boat ramp to go in the water anymore?
You could, it's not the official public water access.
Now I understand. Okay.
There's no like contract with the DNR to maintain this Coast Guard lot as a truck trailer parking lot.
Okay.
So what about the boat launch itself? If it, with upkeep or maintenance on it, or is it just gonna deteriorate, or what's?
It's there, and we don't intend to close it per se, but it is a good chance, I think, vision this whole point, master plan on this whole point. Coast Guard property is certainly in flex, and so that's why I think this project has potential for fixing a lot of issues down here on the Coast Guard, Boulder Park Peninsula.
Dave, I thought we didn't own Boulder Park.
Oh, we do,
We do?
for sure. It's even in the land trust.
Is that in the same class as the rest of the Park and Rec?
It is in the Parks Department, yes.
So both sides of that are your problem?
What do you mean by both sides?
The East Bay and the Harbor.
Not so much East Bay. No, East Bay is not in our Parks Department directly. I mean, it's public beach.
Yeah.
We treat it like ours. We pick it up and have some picnic tables over there. And so, yeah, you could say it's all ours. But Boulder Park in particular is a designated park, and it's in the conservation easement, and it is ripe for improvement.
So it's subject to the same rules.
So then the final piece of this report is this idea of an interpretive panel at the Morrison Harbor Landing. And we've been working with the CEC on and off over the years, and I just needed kind of a decision tonight on which do we prefer for a kiosk and an interpretive panel. I'll present these 2 graphics. The first, the bigger kind of horizontal display is initial sort of what CJ Fernandez put together, and it depicts this modular kiosk that's very similar in design to these 3 that have already been agreed and are in the design and build process for the Highway 61 corridor. So this little angular, standalone, let's say fancy kiosk.
Is that like the brown one that's in this picture here?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was originally kind of conceptualized when CJ was putting the landing together and part of the Highway 61 corridor project. 3 of these, of the fancy kiosks, 3 of them were approved and funded by city council about a year, maybe 2 ago, to be constructed and installed along the Highway 61 corridor. But it did not include this location. The 3 that were approved one of them doesn't live here, according to city council funding and the foundations that were poured for these even. And so, not to mislead you, but this was never a part or approved or funded for the landing. And yet we feel we need some sort of interpretive panel that, explains the arbor and the artwork and the mosaic and pays honor and tribute to George Morrison and his works, which CJ used for his art. It's kind of the landing and the metal panels CJ designed, but he took inspiration from George Morrison. So there's a great story to tell there. And the question tonight is really a budgetary and a aesthetic question of which would you prefer? A larger, fancier kiosk? or
It's more likely to get people to stop by if there's a kiosk located somewhere near that bike trail, then
Well-
people are more likely to stop.
Maybe, because there's already this fancy arbor and benches and, public art is very prominent in the landing itself. And so I'll just say this, I've met with CJ, we've discussed this. We both feel like we like the singular panel idea, like the simple one panel on a pedestal, sort of tucked in next to the arbor. In its sort of simplicity, its clean look, it's like, it doesn't detract from the arbor.
How much did the fancy one cost versus this blue one?
Roughly $8,000 to $9,000 for the fancy one.
And we have 3 like that around town.
Yep. And the singular panel, less than 2,000.
So you're saying the singular one would just go on either side of
Mhm.
the,
Exactly. Like CJ has already kind of identified, there's enough concrete that it would fit nicely, just to the left of the, kind of a similar location, but a little more tucked in, to what is the northeast corner of the arbor.
northeast corner?
And that's the trail that we're looking at, the bike trail that
Yeah.
it's sitting sort of on the edge of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be
Here,
similar to where the fancy one is, but
Yeah.
a little more tucked in to where that white striping sort of meets the bike trail.
Yeah.
Everybody get an idea of that?
Yep.
And so really, it's a budget question. We don't necessarily have the funds for the $8,000 to $9,000 fancy one. We could raise them, we could,
I rather like the brown color. Can we do the simple one in brown instead of
absolutely.
blue?
Yeah, this is just, I pulled it off the internet because CJ said we can do this, we can have it custom. The base, actually, the people that are doing the metal art panels right now can make that base and make it black powder coated just like the metal art panels. And the graphic piece on top can be
Whatever we
completely
want.
custom. Exactly.
So they've already approved for 3 of these, right?
Yeah.
And are they thinking there's going to be more, or are they just going to leave it at those 3, so?
3 was the limit for
Okay.
the funding and the design and build phase. So if we go with the 4th, we do need to fund it, design it, et cetera. It's the park board's decision. But as I say, I've talked to, so she could do the content, we feel, and the graphics. And so there's some kind of back and forth with the
Yeah.
design and the content between the CEC group, CJ, and us. But yeah, we would design it in-house. We would make it completely custom. It'd be the same feel of the or we could make it sort of complementary to what the other three are looking like, as far as fonts and colors and all that.
If it's either brown or gray, I'm okay with the freestanding, different type,
Yeah.
earth tones, you know.
I think the smaller one's way better. I don't think we need the big, it really detracts and it looks like it's in the way.
Yeah.
I would agree, I'd go with the blue one. Or not the blue one, but that style.
The smaller.
That style, yeah.
Smaller.
I'm not, they can design it and give us some options, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking then for a motion that would approve the use of this style in more appropriate colors, with content to be designed by, who is it?
Stacy.
Stacy, the CEC,
Yeah. And the whole thing to be
you know, we would
designed
include the
by
Morrison family, obviously Brian and, you know, Hazel and the people that are still around are gonna have an input on this as well.
So did somebody make that motion?
Sure, love to.
Would somebody like to second it?
Love to, Matthew.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Same sign, opposed?
Yeah, that's exciting.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll
Speaking
continue
of
working
the middle paragraph, there was one other question I had. Maybe I don't remember it anymore. No, you know what? I think you answered it already. Never mind.
I still don't have a firm date on when the arbor will be up, so thanks for your patience. But the railings are up now, and
Oh,
I mean, that might be
question.
springtime now,
hope
which
not.
is, yeah.
We were sort of talking by Christmas, so there's still that hope.
So is it, but leading up to that, is it gated off still?
Yeah,
Okay.
Are we going to see that thing finished before winter?
hopefully, but winter's quickly approaching. It's the 21st.
Well, didn't you tell me that the guy who was going to be building the superstructure had some health issues?
That's right.
Has he recovered?
I'm not sure. The family, it's a small family business. I know the son he was been on site, he's installed the railings. Now they're working on the wood and the metal panels, so hopefully it's up soon.
I guess as long as it's still got the fence around it, it's good, so people can't wander out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so it might not be till next spring that we'll see that superstructure.
We'll definitely plan a grand opening when it's done. Hopefully
All right.
this spring.
Then, old business, the master plan.
Okay, so, yes, I went to city council last Wednesday, shared with them the presentation we looked at on the 13th. They like the plan. They like the process. They're ready to approve it once we're making that recommendation. So that's kind of our objective tonight, is to do any kind of last minute revisions. I do feel like in talking with Gabrielle, there's this idea of like the development plan and the implementation plan is maybe the only piece left to like prioritize. You know, at the meeting in November, those of us present agreed that the bathhouse improvements and the signage and wayfinding were kind of top of the list. And so I just kind of pulled a few pages here where the development plan really outlines the 5 areas we're looking at making improvements. And then you see those little subsets of each area. So that's what we're agreeing on is, you know, what we want to build and improve and maintain and fix, which there's no argument there. But then the implementation plan is more of a staging idea and a prioritization exercise that I don't know how active or how engaged we want to be with this, because I feel I have a pretty good understanding as staff what the priorities are. But now would be the chance to like voice those as a board, where we've only filled in that high priority conclusion from last month's meeting. And so if we would like to do like middle priorities and not so important exercise tonight, we can certainly do that. Just kind of maybe go around the room and tell us how you feel about, of these 5 areas of development, which ones are most important for us.
So on the high priority, we already have the bathhouse and the wayfind. Those are 2 that I think, discussed last time, correct?
Yes, correct.
And now you're wanting us to put more in there, or
Yeah, maybe rank them,
Rank
maybe
'em.
tell us how you feel about other priorities, like, should we go after the trailhead, parking lot area? I feel like that's got a lot of momentum. I feel like the marina is a longer game, particularly with the Army Corps. But, this development plan is sound, it just needs a little bit of prioritization.
I think the pedestrian trail by the shore is the one that would make the city residents happiest, would it not?
Mm-hmm.
And the signage stuff is, that tends to be a kind of a marketing effect. People know change has occurred before we've spent the big money on the big things.
So I can just, based off of this first page, I can circle things that we're talking about as important. I'm definitely recognizing that pedestrian trail improvement.
yes.
Just traffic flow in general, check in, check out lanes. Cars,
Yep.
speed, traffic, congestion, confusion,
Parking.
intuitive wayfinding, all of that.
Yep.
Part of that's pedestrian, but a lot of that's slow automotive traffic.
Improve access to the park from downtown is going to be when the connection's open and welcoming.
Dave, where in these lists is the parking lot that's across the street from the office, where is that in this?
Yeah, it's the trailhead parking. It's under circulation
Got it,
improvements and
okay. I thought
connections. Trailhead parking and check-in, check-out lanes. I'm saying maybe that whole circulation improvements and connections is
That's,
high priority.
that's
Yeah.
$100,000 problem or more or less?
Yeah, that's what we spec'd it at, more.
In terms of the capital costs, the big one obviously is the marina, which we only do if we get substantial funding from somewhere else, right?
Right, and feasibility checks
Right.
out.
Well, that's, you mentioned it's the longer term thing, but it seems like if we got things going, at least if we got people working and doing studies and, the Corps of Engineers and stuff, and get them working on that, because if we don't start now, it's that long term just keeps expanding and expanding on us.
Right.
So it'd be nice to have, not like, we're gonna do something, but at least get some studies done and things like that. And I don't know, there's probably costs involved with that, correct?
Correct. Yeah, this idea of a phase, kind of one feasibility study
Yeah.
is a 50/50 cost sharing with the Army Corps. They just ballpark that at $100,000 to $200,000 study. So that could be $50,000 to $100,000 we spend.
Right.
And maybe, again, that's more of a in-house, we have the capital for those kind of projects anyway, and we can really keep that on track,
Yes.
separate from the legacy funding type of projects.
Do we have to say like high, middle, and low priority? Would that be a way to kind of,
Yeah,
because I wouldn't want to put those marina improvements as a low priority, even though they're daunting.
I hear you. So the priority there is to study the feasibility.
I would say get that, I would make that a priority, to study the feasibility, because
Yeah,
it is a long-term project.
Yeah.
If we don't start now, it could be too far in the future.
Yeah.
I wonder too, and maybe it's just me, but when I see circulation improvements, I always think about the water. I don't think about the traffic.
So rephrase that.
So I wonder if we could just, I don't know, if it said traffic circulation, or, because it's both pedestrian and cars, but it's not water.
Yeah, circulation can go in that second bullet point, improves water quality, circulation, open up the break wall. But for larger boats, it's just, access.
And why don't you call it visitor and resident flow rather than
Oh,
circulation?
traffic flow, or, yeah.
Well,
something
traffic
like-
implies a car,
Yeah,
and you want something that also includes pedestrians
walking, right.
and non-motorized.
Human circulation. Yeah, something, I'm not sure.
I like that.
Do you have a sense of where we're headed, or do you need more formality?
I
It's
have a
always good to
question.
get direction from the board.
The last one, I mean, how high of a priority are, I mean, I understand the distance, with building new campsites, we'd have to have the distance between the bathhouses and that, but if we're not faced with that issue, how much of a priority is it to rebuild a bathhouse and a new rec hall? I mean,
Great question, Kay. Rebuild bathhouse 2 is less of a priority than combined bathhouse 3 rec hall, only in the, let's say, the usage and the traffic and the age of the bathhouse 3 and the rec hall facility. They're really both at the end of their
okay.
service period. They're going on 40 years old
And
apiece.
especially if the trailhead parking,
Especially, yep. And
Develops.
just the, as I say, the volume of use for bathhouse 3 and the rec hall is 10 times that of bathhouse 2.
yeah,
And so that's really good insight there, where if we're prioritizing even within a category, that bathhouse 3 rec hall is really top of our list. Bathhouse 2 is not that important.
We can get legacy funding for most of these things, right?
Hopefully,
And we can do it more than 1 year at a time.
correct.
It's quite clear that the big dollars associated with marina improvement wouldn't be next year, might not even be the year after that. So we've
Right.
got a couple of years of application for the legacy funding for these other things, and we just have to tell them which order we want to do it in, right?
That's right.
Does anybody else disagree that the trailhead parking and the pedestrian access are the first on the list?
And what did the word circulation end up as
Visitor and resident flow.
flow?
Well, we're going with that for now, but I get what you're trying to describe. Well,
Yeah.
I'll get with Gabrielle and see what we can come up with for maybe.
Circulation is a little techy, flow has a nice feel to it.
I like it too.
Yeah.
But Steve, I would agree that this is gonna be phased, build out, and what the state's looking for is like, what's first, what's maybe second, third, fourth? And I would suggest that first become that trailhead parking lot, bathhouse 3, rec hall area on the map, but we focus on that area, because it's gonna decongest the office zone for check-in, check-out lanes. It's gonna provide great public gathering space and a new,
So you're
Rec
wanting
hall.
to do the bathhouses as an earlier thing?
well, just bathhouse 3, rec hall
Okay.
combo. And trailhead, because those,
So if we did the bathhouse 3 and the circulation, both the trailhead parking and the traffic flow and the pedestrian trail, we did all those things in the first year, what kind of dollars would we be applying for?
3 to 4 million.
And we would want to have the new signs that help people find their way around installed by the time we're done with that first phase, right?
It could or should be a part of it.
All right?
And do you have a sense of if, say they were to do all of it, say, gee, or you get it and they give you $3 million, what's the time frame that you have to spend that? I mean, to actually complete the project, you're talking about a year, 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, or do they give you say, okay, you have to spend it in 2 years or anything like that?
That's a good question, Matthew. I don't know their restrictions or time limits on the funding. I would have to, I mean, that's something we could
Gabrielle
find
probably
out.
Yeah.
Gabrielle would
It'd just
know.
be interesting to know if,
I don't feel it'd be a unreasonable, deadline type of situation. I do know it would take like more planning, engineering, et cetera, that it would take, 6 months to a year just to develop construction documents.
Sure.
And
I mean, it's
then
a huge,
another
that's
year
a
to
huge
build.
project, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be like 2 years would be a reasonable time to expect this to be built out.
But it
from
seems
the-
like going after all that in one chunk of time or money, because it'll all be done right at the same time, because it's also connected.
Yeah, that's most efficient.
So we have two votes to take. One vote to approve the plan, and a second vote to be more to indicate the priority.
Well, and I don't need a vote on that, Steve.
Yeah.
Like this prioritization exercise is merely to finish, to kind of fill in the implementation plan, to give Gabrielle and her team the direction of priorities. We can just talk about it as a group and form a consensus, and I'm hearing it now. It's that office area, the trailhead, the bathhouse 3, and the rec hall.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the
And the
signage.
pedestrian
And they'll
walkway
be
by the
sending it back to
harbor.
us anyways to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, are you ready for a motion?
Yeah, the
To approve
motion
the
would be a
master plan
recommendation
as
for
it's
city
last-
council to approve the
Right.
final plan.
We recommend, the motion would be to recommend to the council the approval of the plan that was presented last month, right?
That was still a draft.
Wasn't finished.
Pardon?
With this as the development plan.
Yeah, it's a recommendation to approve the final master plan, which is not what they looked at last week, because that was still just a draft. We're gonna fill in the implementation plan and the budget and a few other missing pieces that are, in-house.
Okay, so state the motion you need for this week then.
Recommendation for council to approve the final master plan.
Okay, is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion further? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Is there any new business to be had?
Well, do you want a second motion, or do you want to do that entirely with just bringing this into the master plan?
I'm fine with that, Bob.
For example, if you look at the development plan, the last item, combining the bathhouse and rec hall, really moves up into what is now labeled circulation. So some mixing of that to make
Right.
access the primary.
Yeah, the implementation plan will reflect that.
Yeah. Because I think access is a great catchword. Access, access.
And flow.
And you go and flow, and then go from there.
So that's our high
Access and-
priority, is access and flow.
Yeah.
Is there any new business?
I have none.
No?
Nope.
Just want to
There-
reiterate that the Active Living Steering Committee has a great interest in this because they see it as a way of being active. So
The who committee?
the Active Living Steering Committee,
Oh, okay.
which is
For-
probably the broadest mixture of poorly attended committees ever.
I like that active living.
They're not very active, but,
Well,
They're so active they can't go to the meeting.
yeah, right.
but it's interesting because voices from all over end up in that committee, and you learn all kinds of stuff. Really interesting.
Well,
Anyway,
I'm going to declare the meeting adjourned, unless somebody has some objection, and then we can talk as much as we like.
What's the date
Brian
of the
can go on
next
to his
meeting?
next meeting.
Next Wednesday.
Basketball.
Is it what?
It's next Wednesday.
Oh, no, not the city council.
Oh,
The
sorry.
select board meeting, like is, when's
Maybe the
New Year's?
second.
Oh, the day